Hello and welcome back everyone. So today in this video we will see yet another React front-end interview problem. So in this problem we will have to show a loader on an API call. So that means whenever we make an API call we show a loader, and when the API call is done we show the result. So if we take this example here, there is no data currently, so I'm showing an empty array. But if I click on fetch data, I'll make an API call, and when the API call is being made, I'll show loading here, and when the API call is done, I'll show the data here that was returned by the API. So if I click on fetch the data, I'll show loading, and when the data has been returned from the API, I'll show the data here. Again, when I click on it, I'll show loading, and I'll show the data. So this is a very simple project in which we need to show loader whenever an API call is being made, and then the data when the data is being received. So let's try to code this up now. I will try to remove this function. I'll remove this function. So what I've essentially done here is, right now I have two states. One is loading and the other is data. So loading value will by default be false, and there will be a button, and on the click of button I will make an API call here. So let's implement this function. So I'll make this as an async function, and I'll wrap the function inside my try catch block. So what now I will do is, since on the click of the button I need to make the API call. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll do my set loading as true, right? And when the API call is being made, that is when my finally block runs, I'll do set API set loading as false. So what happens now is I click on the button, I set the loading to true, the UI says loading, and then the API call is being made, and then when the API call is done, my if there is any error, the catch runs, and in the final step, the finally block runs, and the loading gets false, and I'll show the data here. So let's make the API call here. Const res await fetch. I'll copy this API, this dummy API, and the data will be await res.json. I'll convert it to JSON, and then here I'll set the data to data. Now, if there is any error, I'll just console log the error, and yeah, that is pretty much it. I will refresh the page now, and I can see, since there is no data and the loading value is false, and there is just the data is just empty string. So I'm just showing empty string. Now when I click on the button, when loading becomes true, so this gets shown, this gets visible, and when the data is fetched, my loading becomes false, and then this gets visible. So if I click on this, loading is visible, there is an empty string now. And if I need to save this thing. Yeah. So now let me click this again. I see empty string. Okay, I'm seeing a type error here. What's the type error? Res await, and data is await res.json. I need to there's a typo here. I'll save this again. And now when I click on this, I'm seeing loading, and then here is the data. So this was a pretty simple project. So this was all for today. I'll see you next one.